Late last night, a Western Kentucky jury returned a guilty verdict, convicting a man of murder in the death of London police officer Logan Medlock.
It has been nearly 2 years since the drunk driving crash. The verdict of guilty on all counts begins the end to a search for justice for Officer Medlock's family and the law enforcement community.
WKYT's Phil Pendleton talked to the prosecutor in the case about the closure.
Almost 2 years later, you can still see signs and markings of the violent crash that happened here in October of 2022. During the trial, seeing and hearing about what took place was difficult for some in the courtroom.
We also had a video of a security camera here in town that showed the intersection and recorded the crash. So those pieces of information was very tough for them to watch.
A Warren County jury deliberated for almost 7 hours before convicting Casey Bird of murder, DUI, and several counts of criminal mischief. Evidence came out that Bird was very intoxicated when his truck collided with Sergeant Medlock's cruiser.
We had 2 accident reconstructions, said he was doing 70+ miles per hour in a 35-mile-per-hour zone 5 seconds before the crash, and that he ran a red light, which he ultimately T-boned and killed Logan.
When Casey Bird was on the witness stand yesterday, he told the courtroom that he'd actually planned on spending the night at the house where he had consumed all the alcohol, but he got a message from a woman who wanted to meet up with him. There was also evidence Bird had multiple drinks of beer and whiskey before heading out. There was some debate over extreme indifference to human life, which is typically an issue in DUI murder cases.
Instructions are so similar between a murder and a second-degree manslaughter that it makes it tough for a jury. And when you say murder, like you say, a lot of times they think of an intentional act.
The jury also recommended a 20-year sentence on the murder charge, and a judge will set final sentencing on August 26th. In Laurel County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
And that trial was held in Warren County and not Laurel County because of the publicity the case received. In a statement, London police said in part that the outcome marked a major milestone in the long battle to bring justice. You can read that entire statement right now on WKYT.com and inside the WKYT News app. You can scan the QR code that you see right there on your screen to download the app.